Good afternoon and welcome to the October 23rd, 2012 regular school board meeting of Richland School District 2. I certainly want to thank everyone for your attendance and your presence here on tonight. We just concluded our executive session and we're now ready to go into our public session. At this time, we will stand and we will receive our invocation and pledge of allegiance from a group of Boy Scouts, Mr. Wade Fletcher, Mr. Andrew May, and Mr. Corin Wiggins. We'll stand, please.
Let us pause for a moment. We are from many walks of life, yet we are in unity, for we have the same goals. Let us walk in peace, live with love, and work with joy. Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, young man. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the current agenda and minutes from our previous board meeting.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Manning, second by Mr. Spector. Any discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next, we'll have a special recognition. Dr. Brochu.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. At this time, I'll call on Ken Blackstone, who is our Executive Director for Communications and Strategic Partnerships.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brochu, Mr. Chairman, and all our members of the board and the executive staff. As you know, and our public knows, our 7 school board members rotate their term of service with 3 terms ending this year and 4 other terms ending 2 years from now. Beginning tonight and in subsequent years, when board members' terms are completed at the last October meeting, we will present a plaque of appreciation for each member's service. And as you'll see, each plaque has room for a little hanging plate at the bottom of the plaque to represent their 4-year term and any offices they may have held. And so anyone serving subsequent terms will have an additional plate that we'll add to the bottom. So tonight, we want to honor and thank our board members who have served from 2008 to 2012, and we wish to present each of you a plaque of appreciation. So I'm going to ask if Mr. Chip Jackson, our current chairman, would come forward to accept our first plaque. Mr. Jackson has served as a board member, obviously vice chairman for a year, and also as chairman this year. Ms. Susan Brill, I'd like to ask if you would please come forward, and I want to thank you for your service during your term as a board member and also for serving as vice chair on numerous occasions. For that omission, I apologize for the omission of secretary as well. And finally, we would like to thank Dr. Stephanie Burgess, who is retiring from the board after 8 years of service to Richland School District 2. She has served as the board secretary, vice chair, and most recently as chairman for 2011. Stephanie, we wish you well on your future projects and your continued work in the Richland 2 community. We truly appreciate the perspective and energy you have brought to our board.
Ms. Burgess, if you will stay right there for a second, please. And on behalf of the entire school board, we certainly want to thank you for your leadership and your active participation on this board. You have ruled, as I described, not only with your head, but also with your heart. And so thank you for your experience and the work and the devotion you've shown to being fair, to showing justice, and to being equitable. You've worked hard, you've done your homework, you've always come prepared, and you've always remained focused on the kids. We're going to miss you greatly. Thank you very much for your service. Flowers from the board and a gift card for dinner for you and your husband. Hope you enjoy.
We do have two other groups very quickly that we want to recognize. The first one is the committee that worked on the Forest Lake Elementary School's 2012 Eagle Expressions Literary Magazine, which was awarded first place by the American Scholastic Press Association. The association also presented the magazine with the 2012 Most Outstanding Elementary School Magazine Award. This is the 8th year that the school has received this award. And I would like to ask the members of the committee who are here to come forward, along with Principal Dr. Kathy Steck. Those members of the committee are Donna Bass, Sarah Boone, Rebecca Humphreys, Melissa Masters, and the committee was chaired by Miss Heather Hansberry.
Wonderful.
And finally, I would like to have the following office professionals come forward to be recognized for earning the distinction of Certified Educational Office Employee by the National Association of Educational Office Professionals. Jackie Gilbert, who is in our district office, who is the administrative assistant to our Chief Information Officer. Jackie, please come forward. Eronda Jackson, who's administrative assistant to the principal at Richland Northeast High School, if you would come forward. Jean Parks, administrative assistant at Killian Elementary School. And Joanne Sinkler, administrative assistant at Blythewood Academy. And while Joanne's getting her picture, I will tell you that these ladies have completed the requirements for this designation for the Certified Educational Office Employees based upon the completion of these requirements in educational experience and professional activities. The Professional Standards Program is the only national certification program for educational office professionals, and it is very much akin to the program for our National Board Certified Teachers. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me say as I move on, and a point of personal privilege as a chairman, I was just informed that a friend of mine, Ms. Stevie Johnson, lost her father this week, and certainly, Stevie, I want you to know you have our deepest sympathy, and you're in our thoughts and in our prayers for them. So sorry to hear that. As we continue on with our agenda, our next item is our student focus. Dr. Brochu.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call on our Chief Academic Officer, Sue Millette, to introduce our student focus.
Thank you, Dr. Brochu. We're delighted tonight to have some special recognition for our music department here at Kelly Mill. With their over 184 orchestra students, 220 band students, and 200 chorus students, they're going to share their talents with us tonight. And I'd like to introduce the principal, Katie Wall.
Welcome, Board of Trustees, Dr. Brochu, and distinguished guests. Kelly Mill Middle School is so glad to host you this evening. Tonight's performance is from our award-winning music department led by Leah Corday, Brian Wargle, Nikki Belch, and Rebecca Leonard. We hope you enjoy the music this evening.
Thank you very much. Let's give them another round of applause. I wanted to be sure they were done before I moved on, and I apologize. Thank you. At this time, we will have our public participation. Several people have signed up. Let me ask you as you come to the podium we'll give the folks a minute as they're leaving, but as they're leaving and before you come to the podium, let me ask you if you will be governed by the rules of the board, and we'll ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And then when you come to the podium, if you will state your name and your mailing address for the record, we would appreciate that. And then we will allow you to speak for 3 minutes. If you're able to do it less than 3 minutes, we would appreciate that as well. But you certainly will have a maximum of 3. Again, we're going to just wait momentarily until our wonderful students and their families exit before we resume. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms.
Would I
Anderson.
be privileged to speak as we wait for those people to exit the
Yes, Ms. Anderson, you have the
gym?
floor.
I just wanted to say that I've received several phone calls, emails today concerning the article that was in the paper. And because those comments were shared with me, I invited people to come and share those same comments doing public participation. So not just parents of the district, but also employees of the district. So if you see an employee of the district sharing their concerns, it is because I suggested not only do the board need to hear their concerns, but I think it needs to be made publicly during public participation. Oftentimes, the squeaky wheel is a phrase that one of the statements said, the squeaky wheel gets the most oil. So I think it's only fair for those people who have positive comments to come before this board tonight during public participation.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. At this time, we will begin our public participation session, and I will call you up in the order that I have your information. First person, if I mispronounce your name, please forgive me. First person I think is Ms. Kayla Knight. Is Ms. Knight here? If you'll come up to the podium, Ms. Knight, and if you will state your name and your street address for the record, and we'll hear from you. Thank you very much.
As you said, my name is Kayla Knight. I reside at 121 Saddle Chase Lane. I am a 7th grade teacher at Mullen Road Middle School, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the positive that we're seeing in the district. Coming out of my undergraduate as a new teacher, I was determined to make a difference. I was not going to just put the facts and the content out to my students. I wanted to have students leave my classroom as lifelong learners and contributing citizens. My teacher education program prepared me as best as possible, but I did not receive all the training and resources needed to achieve my goal. This is my 2nd year as a teacher, and it's my 2nd year in the district. I've had a wealth of opportunities to develop myself professionally, and as a result, I know that I'm a better teacher. I currently attend the Leadership Academy, and I'm continuing to grow as a teacher each time I leave a session. I have opportunities to speak with veteran and new teachers at other schools, and I'm able to go back to Muller Road and implement those new strategies that I've accumulated. Although I'm away from my students for 2 days at a time, I feel that the enthusiasm and the new strategies I bring back the following week and the rest of that week more than make up for those 2 days of my absence. The professional development opportunities available to us as teachers, staff, and faculty in Richland District 2 impact our students in ways in which we deliver and guide our instruction. Additionally, having an employer that values continuing education shows us that as teachers, administrators, support, and clerical staff, that we are valued. Our leaders care enough about us as professionals to help us build upon our strengths and minimize our weaknesses. Richland District 2 is moving forward under the direction of Superintendent Brochu. Our schools use more innovative strategies now than ever. Specifically at Muller Road, we are building our project-based learning community, C4. We were able to look at what we believe our students need and build a program and curriculum around those needs. Students do not learn the way that you or I even did. They do not internalize information simply from lectures and presentations and textbooks. Dr. Brochu has given us her blessing to develop a program to meet the students' needs, our 21st century learners who do not learn the same way. Given the time to build our team and implement those changes, the test scores and the academic high achievements will follow. Eric Hoffer says, in times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. As a district, our charge should be to have our students become the learners and not the learned. The only direction is forward. In an automobile, the windshield is larger than the back window because you should remain more focused on what's ahead than what lies behind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next we have Ms. Lori Marrero.
Good evening. I'm Lori Marrero. I'm at 6 Rosehaven Lane, Blythewood. I appreciate the time to speak tonight. I wanted to take a few minutes to share with you my perspective of where we are as a district, not only as a longtime employee for nearly 30 years, but also as a parent and a resident. And I know that you hear from people who have complaints, people who don't like what they see in the district, and I know that most people who are content and happy never feel compelled to speak at board meetings. Probably that is true because we believe that everyone else is seeing and experiencing the good things we are seeing and experiencing. But tonight, I believe we have to begin to share with you the positives because far too long you have heard the negatives from a small minority. When Dr. Brochu replaced Steve, we were quite honestly nervous. We had lived for so long professionally in one type of environment, a small rural school district that had excelled with our brightest of bright students. We were known for our gifted and talented programs and our magnets. We exemplified what great things the best of our students could accomplish, and we still do. None of that has changed. What has changed is the growing number of students we serve, the growing number of students who swell our ranks with non-alert and non-magnet students. And these students, these children who now constitute the vast majority of our population, need our attention more than ever. Today, we have to focus on the child that each of you represents. I know that for many of you, you have had children and grandchildren who have had wonderful alert and magnet experiences. And I know for many of you, your neighbors and friends have had these same positive experiences, as have I. My daughter, too, had the great advantage of alert classes, the 2 academies, and a trio of magnets at R&E, Horizon, PCA, Cavplex. And I will be the first to affirm that these are wonderful and enriching programs. But for some reason, we have people who believe that Dr. Brochu was on a mission to eliminate magnets. I don't know where that misinformation came from. Perhaps some people with negative agendas perpetuated these falsehoods. I think we have some people who believe that the experiences they have come to expect have somehow been threatened. But that was never a topic of discussion. Our talks instead were about bringing enriching experiences to all children. Somehow that has become threatening for the few, and that saddens me. It saddens me to think that there are a few people out there who think we have students in our district who deserve a better education than the rest. It saddens me to believe that we have people who believe that when we focus our attentions on the average student, that we fail the best. But those of us who truly understand the work we are doing understand that when we help our average student become engaged in his or her education, then we create the very people our community needs. Our job is to best educate all of our students. When we do that, we all win, and our brightest have the opportunity not only to shine as the best of the average, but to shine as the best of the best, because Richland, too, is not an average school district.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ms. Mary Wiley.
I'm hurrying because I know I only have 3 minutes. Thank thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I, too, wanted to come and share with you some of the very positive things, changes, and data, actually, that has come as a result of the very strong directional leadership that not only Dr. Brochu, but the entire district office administration has shared. I knew it when I read the nasty article in the paper this morning, and I heard that Dr. Brochu spoke about beginning with the end in mind, that we were speaking from a singular voice, because that was exactly the theme of the message that I used for my 6th grade orientation in the spring. Begin with the end in mind. My particular school, E.L. Wright Middle School, has a very diverse population. 10% of their student population is special needs. On top of that, an additional 10% are ESOL students. So we have a big challenge to begin with. I know you care about that, and I know you know it. Dr. Fleming, I heard you 2 board meetings ago inquire with passion about how we're serving the transient students in our district. Mr. Jackson, when you were speaking earlier tonight, you said, and I'm quoting, that Dr. Burgess ruled with heart and head and in the best interest of all children. That is the kind of climate and culture that we're working very hard at E.L. Wright to foster with our kids. And I want to give you some data from our State Department of Education School Climate Report that we just got about 2 weeks ago about where we've come in just 1 year with that. Teacher absences at E.L. Wright decreased 23% from the 2010-11 school year, in spite of the fact that we had a 70% increase in the number of professional days that were granted to staff. Hear what I'm saying. I know a lot of people are complaining about the amount of time that teachers are out of their classrooms. With a 70% increase in investing in professional development for our teachers, we still had a 23% decrease in overall teacher absences. We have experienced from the 2010-11 school year to 11-12 a 41% decrease in student absences. That's tremendous to have expected to see in 1 year, and yet we've already done that. Why is that? Because we are equipping students with the skills that they need to want to come to school in an environment that is nurturing and encouraging and creating and offering engaging work for our kids. Further, the school climate report for this year, to the statement, teacher and staff morale is high at my school, we had a 36% increase from 2010. In 1 year, 36% more teachers report that student and teacher morale at our school is high. To the phrase, school administration provides effective instructional leadership, a 34% increase from the previous year. To the statement, school administration communicates clear instructional goals, a 37% increase in teacher responses. Administrators visit classrooms to observe instruction. 27% of the teachers have agreed with that. One last thing I want to share, only 62% of the students at my school agree that they believe they can do good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next we have Morgan Moats. Hope I'm saying that correctly, Morgan.
I'm Morgan Moats. I live at 110 Persimmon Fork Road, Blythewood. I'm also a teacher at Muller Road Middle School, and my colleague Kayla stole my opening quote. American author Eric Hoffer once wrote, "In times of profound change, the learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists." I've been thinking about the quote a lot lately, and when I read the article in the State this morning, it really struck me as being very appropriate. What good are we as teachers if we stop learning after we graduate from college? The things I've learned at conferences that I've been to in the past 2 years include a Schlechte conference, a residency at High Tech High, and 2 AVID conferences. They have changed not only my teaching career, but my life. Like most teachers, I used to look at the next standard, and I used to plan lessons that I thought would teach my students those things. To my dismay, the students were usually still bored, and at the end of it, they still probably didn't get everything that I wanted them to. It's not that I was a bad teacher or that my college program didn't prepare me, it's just that I didn't know any better. After going to these professional development experiences, I've learned to seek out my colleagues for ideas and inspiration. I've learned to use the technology we've been given to develop students who aren't afraid to ask questions and seek out answers. I've learned to design lessons around my students, not to just plan lessons for the students who happen to be in my room that day. I've learned how to create students who can learn, not how to teach facts. At Muller Road, great things are happening. Every day I look forward to going to work to discuss the future of education at our school with my colleagues and with my students. If you ever doubt the benefit of good professional development, please come visit us at Muller Road Middle School. My room number is F118. You're welcome anytime. Come ask my students how much more they get out of class now that I've seen High Tech High. And the benefits are visible, they're profound, and they need to continue. I agree that change is good, and I'm so glad that Dr. Brochu, the school board, and my school administration is letting us change. I hope I'm allowed to continue and grow as a teacher and be supported from the top down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Ms. Jessica Fox.
Hello, my name is Jessica Fox. I live at 113 Loggerhead Drive. I am a science teacher at Muller Road, and I am a parent. I want to make it public that we are creating real, authentic, and meaningful work for all students at Muller Road. Students come home to you with more than facts shoved in their brains. They're coming home to you with a passion for learning, an identity, and a genuine interest in their world. We are creating learners that can solve problems, work together, and create. Your child can do more than take a test. Trust in that. Trust what we have here now. Research shows what type of meaningful learning makes creators, leaders, and amazing citizens. We are doing that now. We need to prepare all students for the future. A strange thing since no one quite knows what that will be. But what we do know is it will be far more technologically advanced than you or I have ever dreamed of. Prepare students for that by giving them the needed tools. We are doing that now. Let us not look to the past. The past was wonderful. It is what got us here. But we are on the path to be the best in education, not just the best in the state, but rather a place where the world comes to see amazing schools doing amazing things with all students. We are on the right path. Stay the course. I am proud of where we are going. I am proud of the district family I have now. I am proud of the work we are doing now. And I am proud of who we are now.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Emily Eberlin, if I'm saying that correctly.
Hi, my name is Emily Eberlin, and I live at 806, no problem, it happens all the time, Wingstripe Court. I am a proud graduate of Richland School District 2 schools, but today what makes me most proud is that I'm an employee of Richland School District 2. However, my educational experience was solid. However, I can honestly tell you that I don't remember the names of many of my teachers from elementary, middle, and high schools. The ones that come to mind the quickest are those of my alert teachers. Alert was a place where I was truthfully and authentically engaged, and 20 years later, it has stayed with me. The need for engagement in the classroom is more important than ever. When we strive to exclusively teach a test-driven curriculum, we miss out on the opportunity to teach our students to become critical thinkers. Over the years, our focus has shifted. I understand the concern with sending numerous people to different conferences. Our students certainly learn better with a teacher in the classroom. However, this is the first time that our school district has ever stood so strongly behind one philosophy. No longer are we torn between differentiated instruction, understanding by design, learning-centered schools, and integrated thematic instruction. We are now concentrating on knowing our who and designing engaging lessons to best meet the needs of all students in our classrooms. If my teachers had taken this kind of approach to teaching me when I was in high school, my memories of high school and the content taught would be stronger. The Schletke Center isn't teaching us new concepts. We've always understood the benefits of getting to know our students and providing them with the content that reflects their lives. However, what the Schletke Center is doing is providing the teachers in Richland 2 with a common language. This language allows us to talk about the ways we are designing meaningful work, and it also helps us coach our colleagues as we all strive to make our classrooms places in which students are willing to take risks and step outside of the box. As a student, I was the definition of what Schletke identifies as being ritually compliant. I followed my teacher's instructions, completed all of my homework, and I made good grades because my dad told me I had to. I don't often recall being truthfully engaged in my classes except in Alert, and I was fortunate enough to be in the Alert program, but not all of our students have those opportunities. Every teacher needs to create environments where all students feel the way that I felt in my Alert class. Our students need to know that our teachers care about them and really want to produce lifelong learners, not high test scores. I believe our school district needs to continue moving in this direction. Because of Dr. Brochu, I have had the chance to grow professionally in ways I never imagined. Dr. Brochu has helped unify the professional development of our school district, and she is leading our faculty and staff down a path that is already positively impacting the teaching and learning taking place in our classrooms now, and this transformation needs to continue. Just as we would not seek out a physician teaching or practicing in decades-old practices, we do not want our students sitting in classrooms where our teachers are teaching in decades-old best practices. Dr. Brochu has afforded me with great opportunities, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate this opportunity tonight to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ms. Connie Jordan.
Good evening. I'm Connie Jordan, and I live at 119 Beacon Lane, Columbia, 29229. I am a teacher, not an administrator, but a teacher. I was in the classroom today with 108 13 and 14-year-olds, and it is a joy more today, after 21 years of teaching English, than it was day one. I get up in the morning looking forward to what I get to do in that classroom with future citizens, future voters. I want to tell you, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for Dr. Brochu's leadership, because even though I was a good teacher before the Leadership Academy, which has equipped me strongly in the classroom, I'm a much better teacher 2 years later than I was before. I'm an English teacher, so getting to read 8 excellent books just warms my heart. I'm still reading one right now for November. I can't wait. I missed 12 days of school last year in the classroom with my students. I had a certified retired English teacher in there with them for all of those 12 days. They learned, their test scores went up, and I learned. I enjoyed every moment that I spent in those 12 days in the Leadership Academy working with other professionals. I used to say that the most important professional development that I have gotten to experience in Richland 2 has been national boards. I have to say now that's second, because being a part of the Leadership Academy taught me so much, stretched me further. I start my school year differently than I did before the Leadership Academy. I have different writing assignments, different reading assignments. My students are more engaged. I know them better than I have ever known them before. I'm a teacher, 180 days of the school year. I hope to do it all of my career because it is rewarding more now than it has ever been before. Please know that at least for 13 and 14-year-olds that I get to spend 180 days with every school year, her leadership has made a huge difference, and I look forward to that continuing.
Thank you. Next, last, we have Mr. Andrew Barbone.
Andy Barbone, 113 Delane Woods Drive in Irmo. My name is Andy Barbone, and I'm the principal of Summit Parkway Middle School. As a second-year principal, I still have a lot to learn, but one thing I do know, my staff and I are privileged and blessed to work under the leadership of Dr. Brochu. As the leader of 900 students, 104 employees, and countless community members, I'm given the freedom to explore what is best for our students, to innovate in a way that brings the best experience to our young citizens, and create an environment that brings everyone to the table. If you doubt me, come and visit Summit Parkway any day of the week, and I can show you what all that looks like. Come see our balloon car races where our budding engineers and designers are at work. Come see our mock first aid day where the young soon-to-be doctors, nurses, and therapists practice their skill. Come see our new special education innovation lab where our special needs students learn through technology that will blow your mind. Come out and see. Dr. Brochu has, and it's because of her leadership that it's all possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those who participated in public participation session. Because we have a couple others, we will defer those to the second half of the board meeting tonight, as well as those who did not sign up. So we will defer and we will move on at this time. At this time, next on our agenda is our facilities report. Dr. Brochu.
Yes, at this time I'd like to call on Jack Carter, our Executive Director of Operations, to answer any and all questions you may have on facility report.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have this week's facility report. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Both Ed and Meg are here. I do want to give you a couple of quick updates. The press box installation at Richland Northeast is just about complete. They've got to put up the rest of the stairs to do a little bit more of the support structure. The backstops are in and painted. The nets are up. The softball net is complete. The baseball net, they had to redo some stuff on the bottom so it would stretch properly. The track is complete and striped.
Questions or comments from the board? From Mr. Carter. Thank you very much, Mr. Carter.
Thank you.
Next, we have a technology report update. Dr. Brochu.
Yes, at this time I'd like to call on Tom Kramer, our Executive Director for Technology.
Thank you, Dr. Brochu. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have tonight.
Questions or comments from the board for Mr. Kramer?
Tom.
Mr. Manning.
A while back I had asked where we were with our backups and kind of what that looks like. Can you update me on where we are today, what that process looks like from a high level?
Well, the way it looks today compared to your last report, there haven't been any major changes since the last report. We do have some things, some planning in the works. I'd be happy to prepare a separate update for you if that would be acceptable. But generally, we have our backup that are copied to a off-site location within our district, and we are working on a third site within the district now that our fiber network is more built out. That'll give us additional backups there. We do have some feelers in the fire for some third-party services that we can also engage in to have yet better off-site backup. But that's where we stand.
And do we do regular tests to restore to make sure that the plans actually work?
We do restores on a fairly regular basis. Many times we have users that accidentally delete data from the network, and we restore that upon request. We've done recently a test restore of both of our student information system and of the SharePoint system. But that's the extent of the testing we've done thus far.
Okay, I think I'd like to see us, if we can, take that, to the next level with restoring key systems and other things, especially with VDI. I know that's a huge component to continued operation. But thank you for that update, and I think it would be good to see maybe a more detailed plan at some point as to sort of where you're going and where we are with that.
Yeah, there are some changes happening both internally and then with the technology as a whole, and the work that we've done with our technology advisory committee to kind of gauge some best practices there. So we can give you a more detailed update on that certainly in the very near future.
Okay.
Be happy.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manning. Other questions or comments from the board? Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. Next on our agenda is our budget report. Dr. Brochu.
Yes, I'll call on Chief Financial Officer Bob Davis to share a budget update.
Thank you, Dr. Brochu. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, you'll recall that back in June, the board actually passed a resolution authorizing us to refund some bonds, pending market conditions. The market conditions since June have, in fact, been favorable to sell those bonds. The delay has been necessitated because of an audit by the Internal Revenue Service, which was announced about 10 days after the board's resolution was passed. I can glad to report tonight that we have completed the audit by the Internal Revenue Service, and let me publicly thank the McNair firm for their assistance. And with us tonight is Ms. Franny Heiser, and I've asked Franny to be here to give the board a little 2-minute update on what we've gone through and how we resolved it. And the good news is we plan to sell the bonds in early December, and the conservative estimate on the savings for our taxpayers is about $980,000. And with that, again, let me publicly thank the McNair firm and ask Ms. Heiser for an update for the board.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I think nothing will ruin your day worse than getting a letter from the IRS. And as Mr. Davis said, very shortly after y'all approved the refinancing of the $55 million bonds that were originally issued in 2006, we were on our way to refunding. We had rating agency calls. We were ready. And what I call the fickle finger of fate. It was just a random audit from the IRS, but it stopped the refunding because we couldn't go forward with the refunding until the audit had been concluded. The audit has been successfully concluded thanks to a lot of hard work by lots of folks at the school district under Mr. Davis's direction, going back all the way to 2006, and Steve Mann, who kept very detailed notes, and Haley Wilson, I believe, is the person that really lifted the load in terms of recreating all of the expenditures of $55 million. The reason I wanted to come tonight was to let the board know how unusual it is, and unusual in a very, very positive way, for an audit to be resolved, to have no findings, and for it to be resolved in less than 6 months. That is a major accomplishment, and I wanted to make sure that y'all understood how well organized everything in the finance has been from 2006 forward. It was really very, very impressive. And the good news is that the interest rates are still very low. We will be able to refund these bonds and save probably at least $900,000 and things should not change between now and the time we sell those bonds. So we've been involved with audits that lasted years. We've been involved with audits where there was really no serious problem, but what we call a foot fault, just a little tiny thing that the IRS latches hold of and they won't let go of. None of that was in this audit, and that's really very, very impressive. And I just wanted to let y'all know that. And I'd be glad to answer any questions y'all might have.
Questions or comments from the board? Ms. Anderson.
What is precluding us from going ahead and selling those bonds before December?
Just timing. We have to resubmit the paper. We have to update the paperwork because there's now more information available about the close of the fiscal year. We have to resubmit to the rating agencies. That would put us in the week of Thanksgiving, and we don't want to sell the week of Thanksgiving, so we'll sell as soon after Thanksgiving as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just didn't want the rates to change before we sold.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Other questions or comments from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask a question?
Yes, Dr. Fleming.
Just on a note, have you had any indication from the economic advisors, about the forecast of our state and tax collections and things like that?
Dr. Fleming, there's been nothing of note to come out of the Board of Economic Advisors since about 2 months ago when I did report some concern from the BEA. But other than that, it's been quiet on that front, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Dr. Fleming. Next on our agenda, we have voting on the executive session items. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend for the student expulsion number 1 that student be allowed to return to their school on strict probation.
Second.
Been moved by Dr. Burgess, second by Mrs. Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Okay. Jill said it had to be a hand vote. All those in favor of that motion, raise your right hand. Looks unanimous. Thank you very much. Student appeals.
Mr. Chairman, on the appeals, I'm going to do all of them except for number 3.
Correct. Thank you.
On student number 1, allow that student to apply to Anna Boyd. Student number 2, be allowed to apply to Anna Boyd. Student number 4, allow that student to return to their school, but on strict probation with community service.
Is there a second?
Second.
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think there's like a couple more.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Number 5, allow that student to return back to their home school on strict probation with community service. Student number 6, allow that student to apply to Blythewood Academy. Students 7 and 8, allow those students to apply to Anna Boyd, but they will remain there if accepted for the remainder of the school year, meaning next spring, next May.
With counseling.
With counseling.
With counseling.
With counseling. That is correct.
I second it.
It's been moved by Dr. Burgess and officially seconded now by Mrs. Brill. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
Here it comes. I got it.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Dr. Burgess.
On student number 3, I'd like to make a motion that student to apply to adult ed.
Second.
It's been moved by Dr. Burgess, second by Mr. Manning. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 6-1. Thank you very much. Dr. Burgess. Next, student admission request.
Are we doing the readmits or adult ed?
Request to adult ed.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we allow students 1 through 4 to be admitted to adult ed.
Second.
Been moved by Dr. Burgess, second by Mrs. Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Student readmission requests for the fall.
Mr. Chairman, on students 1 and 2, I'd like to make a motion to deny.
Been moved by.
And on student number 3, to admit. I move to admit that student.
Second.
Been moved by Dr. Burgess, second by Mr. Manning. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, Dr. Burgess. Ratification of personnel. Dr. Brochu?
Yes, at this time, I'd like to ask our Chief Human Resource Officer, Roosevelt Garrick, to make the recommendation on behalf of administration.
Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and move for approval.
Motion's been made to approve the recommendations for ratification. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Anderson, second by Mr. Manning. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, under old business action requested, will be the approval of the revisions stated and listed 12.1 and 12.2. Dr. Brochu.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to call on our Deputy Superintendent, Cheryl Washington, to be available to answer any and all questions.
You have before you for approval this evening policies ADB and GBEC regarding drug and alcohol-free workplace and schools. This is for your approval.
Heard the information. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt policy, whatever, A, B, D, and GBEC.
Second it.
It's been moved by Dr. Burgess that we adopt policies ADB,
Yeah.
GBEC.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's been seconded by Ms. Brill. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Anderson.
Dr. Washington, when will we get the other policy that we tabled?
I'll bring that before you on the next board meeting.
The next board meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Washington. Did we do both of those? We only did one.
I believe Mr. Garrick
Ms. Garrett's going to do a second. I apologize.
will address policy
Thank you very much.
GCQF.
GCQF was brought to you previously. I talked to Dr. Burgess about her concerns, and we bring it back to you tonight for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve policy, I can't see it. GCQF/GCQF-R.
It's been moved by Dr. Burgess. A second?
Second it.
Second by Mrs. Brill. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Under old business, no action requested. Proposal for middle school STEM, Dr. Brochu.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to call on Chief Academic Officer Sue Millette to share and introduce the proposal for the middle school STEM magnet program.
Thank you, Dr. Brochu. We have our magnet director, Dawn McLeod, who will come forward and share some thoughts with you. You have in your agenda or on your agenda the information about the magnet program. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've received information earlier about our proposal for the STEMS magnet program at Summit Parkway Middle School. To address some of the questions that you had at a prior meeting, said it would be housed at Summit Parkway. We'll be starting at 6th grade with a 3-year phase into 8th grade. would be serving up to 80 students per grade level, and it may take a few years to build into a full 80 students per grade level. Our STEM students from North Springs that made basic qualifications would have an auto entry into the STEM program at Summit Parkway. And the selection criteria would be based on teacher recommendation, achieving at least basic on pass, an all standardized test, and a technical real-time experience.
Dawn, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Your cost, you have listed like $7,500, $150,000 per year, 3-year phase-in. That's for lead teacher and equipment. Is that what you're looking at that point?
Yes, sir. The lead teacher, approximately $75,000.
Okay.
And that would include with benefits, and the $100 to $150 per year would be equipment for the first 3 years.
For the first 3 years. Okay. How is that going to be budgeted? Through what means? Through what means was that going to be budgeted?
I guess I'll have to defer to Bob on that one. I'm not sure.
I mean, because
Are
we're
you asking what
in the middle
account?
of the year now, so I mean,
Right.
I know you
Okay.
want to get it going. So
Absolutely.
the point is, we don't have this in our budget. So I just wanted to ask.
Dr. Fleming, it would have to be a budgetary matter for us to bring to the board with our budget for the for the 13-14 school year.
But if won't you need funds for this year? Now you won't need any funds now.
Next.
So
No, this would be for the
you won't need any
next
startup
school year.
funds until after the new budget starts.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, that would come out of the next fiscal year budget, Dr. Fleming.
Ms. McLeod,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Manning.
why is 80 the magic number for a lot of our magnet programs?
With our 4 content courses, it allows us to have a team of teachers and work together. It just works with our scheduling. And that's 20 kids per class, 4 classes, 4 content areas.
And how do we determine which ones become like whole school magnets? We have some whole school versus magnet programs like that. How does that get determined?
Our first whole school magnet started with the federal grants. That was a model that we hadn't used prior to federal grants. And we've continued that model in some circumstances. Any of these school within a school magnets have the potential to move to full school, but sometimes we start with a pilot program and work through the kinks, understand we know what we're going, get our teachers trained, and then we can spread from there if you choose to make that move.
Will this school within a school benefit the entire population in some way? So is the school focuses on this? Is this something that bleeds out into the whole school?
And Mr. Barbone and I have talked about that at length, and really the goal of any of our magnet programs would be a total school benefit. If we look at teachers and staffing and whether they teach all within the magnet or they teach in the magnet, outside of the magnet, when teachers get a technique that works well, they share it. And that's just the way we are. You're not going to believe how this worked. You've got to use this with your kids, or if you use it with one group of kids, of course, you're going to use it with the next group. So we see a total benefit. If you have that equipment that's out, it's exciting. The students are excited about it. So it's used in other classrooms and can be shared. So we can buy classroom sets of equipment with this. So wouldn't necessarily be limited just to STEM students. But as teachers become more familiar with it and we become more accustomed to using it, certainly it can move throughout the school.
And I assume that the kind of collaboration, the vertical from elementary to middle will be highly collaborated and make sure that we're not overlapping and preparing for
Absolutely. And Dr. Cato has been offered to assist us in the development of this program too, to make sure that we have a very clear articulation from the elementary STEMs into middle school STEMs and that we aren't replicating instruction.
Other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Anderson.
the technical real-time experience, can you tell me a little bit more about what you mean with that statement?
Well, actually, this is when we go through the process of selection, we have done all sorts of problem solving. activities. It could be something with robotics, but a team activity where kids would be showed equipment that is novel and given a problem to solve using the equipment and working together. So sometimes you're looking more at the collaboration more than the product, or looking at their problem-solving skills as they move forward.
So that would be part of their interview process?
Yes, ma'am.
So each student would go through some type of demonstration doing that?
An activity.
And then how many do you have currently in the STEMS program?
At North Springs?
At North Springs.
We're right at 40. And Sally, can you give
So then you'd only have room...
44, I'm sorry. We have 44.
Hypothetically, all 44 want to go into the program in the middle school. So realistically, we would only have 40 for 36 positions, placements opened.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me why you guys decided to have a teacher recommendation? Was a teacher recommendation there for the original program?
Yes, ma'am. We've used teacher recommendations for all of our selective programs.
Can you guys tell me why you I'm just kind of curious, because sometimes some students I've experienced through years, some teachers will not recommend students for various reasons. Why is that so important for teacher recommendations?
It can give us a better insight into a student's learning, and I think many times those teacher recommendations help a student through the process. It might be that they don't test well. Maybe they have a true enthusiasm for the subject matter that doesn't come across in scores. We see that. We see work ethic. We see working together with other students. So it does give us a better picture. When I first started Discovery Program, and that was in '95, when we were deciding our selection criteria, we looked heavily at test scores. We only did that 1 year. Our best indicator of success were those teacher recommendations. So
I saw you had test scores on here.
Yes, ma'am. And we look at grades, writing sample. We try to look at a wide spectrum of criteria.
So what would happen in the event that a child has a child meets all the criteria except a teacher's recommendation?
We look at a cumulative score, so there's no one score that would keep a child.
So you would not just keep that child out because they meet everything except the teacher's recommendation. The parent could write to you or whatever the case may be versus the board having to get involved, and
yes,
you guys would make that decision.
And we look for 2 to 3 teacher recommendations per student.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Other questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, I have one.
Ms. Spector.
Let me just ask one question. Okay, you're projecting 2013 to 2014. That's to open.
Yes, ma'am.
So when would the hiring selection start? I mean, I'm looking at budget-wise. If we're not going to put it in if it's going to be a budget line for next year, are you going to need to hire someone this year for those positions for next year?
No, we look at school staffing. So the school is still staffed based on the number of students that would be attending the school. So we use that same ratio. So we would hire based on projections, as we always do. The lead teacher doesn't come on board until the next fiscal year.
So nobody, I want this to be clear in the public, there's nobody been hired to be over the STEMS program at the middle school?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Spector. Dr. Fleming.
Well, I'm going the other way. I think if you're going to have a viable program starting in next fall, you need to hire somebody. That was my point. I think you sort of got me backwards. I think we need to fund it. My point is, if you're going to hit the ground running on a new program, I think by the semester, and you're going to advertise this thing, you need to have this lead teacher hired. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I haven't been around that long.
Looking two different issues. Sometimes we do name a lead teacher that gets started, but they don't walk into the job and paid in that position until the beginning of the fiscal year.
Well, I want to know how that works now. Thank you.
We've done it so many times.
I know we've done it, but if you did I know some of the other ones we haven't. Like I'm thinking about some of the magnet programs that we have had lead teachers or in other situations, but just want to make sure we hit the ground running on this. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming. Any other questions, Dr. Burgess?
Go ahead.
Two questions.
Yes,
Do we
ma'am.
have one or two elementary STEMs?
We have
One,
two.
So with the only one program will automatically matriculate?
The one that we're looking at is the feeder zone from
Okay.
North Springs, and we're looking at addressing specifically the transportation.
Okay.
But
That
we're
clarifies.
trying to work with them.
My second question is a follow-up to Dr. Fleming's, and I forgot it, but I'll think of it in a minute while Ms. Anderson speaks.
Ms. Anderson.
You know, one thing when I read this, and I had to read it over again tonight, and it kind of still bothers me on the automation of the students matriculating on into Summit Parkway Middle School. What if their grades or something doesn't automatically qualify them? I don't know if I like that statement in there, because I don't think they should automatically. Just because they've been in the program doesn't mean that they should automatically go into the middle school program. Can you work on that?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And we are looking.
Do you understand where I'm coming from with that?
Absolutely, we do. And we look at a basic qualification of MET on pass, and that is a basic qualification. But we.
Yeah, but I don't think that it should be just automatic.
Yes, ma'am.
Just because they're already in the program, it shouldn't be an automatic thing.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Dr. Burgess, do you
I remember my question.
Burgess.
I'm kind of like Dr. Fleming. I think if you're going to get the program going, you need somebody to really get in there and do it. So if they're not going to really start it until next fall, are they going to get time off, or are they going to get some leave time to be able to do that in their current role? Is that, because that's how you envisioned it, correct? That whoever's in a present position would be able to
Our principals have
do all this
always
stuff.
worked with us in allowing time.
Okay.
We've had committees. They're not out there by themselves. We work
Okay.
with them. The curriculum coordinators.
Because
will
they're going
work
to
with
need
them.
time to do it.
Absolutely.
Because it's a lot of
it
work.
takes some time.
It's pretty intensive.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Burgess.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, could I ask?
Yes,
another
Ms. Spector.
question? It's not actually relating to the STEMS program, but where are we with the CFK? You don't have to really give me the report tonight, but since we voted it to start, I haven't heard any more information on it.
We are in the process of planning. Dr. Hall and I have met numerous times and looking at where we can go, what we can do, how are we looking at the application process. And Jack Carter and George Gooch and Dr. Hall and myself are going out to Muller Road to look at the placement of the portables. And I believe that's been approved for the portables to be moved, if I'm not mistaken.
Funding's in place and everything.
We have funding to move the portables. We will be bringing to the board, in probably that's your second meeting in January, our 8% proposal for next year, and that will be part of it too, as far as the actual facilities required for CFK North.
Thank you, Ms. Spector.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Shawnee. Appreciate that. Next on our agenda, under new business, no action requested. First quarter financial statement report. Dr. Brochu.
Yes, Mr. Davis, our Chief Financial Officer, has a report in your packet of materials and is going to share a little information and be available for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Brochu. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, you do have the first quarter financial statements in your packets. I would just say that the financial report is tracking as expected at this point in the fiscal year. Again, revenues are still lagging if you look across the board at a number of programs, as is the case, as is the norm. Ms. Shelley Allen, our Director of Finance, is here tonight. Ms. Mary Salter, our Director of Accounts Payable and Payroll, is here tonight. And those ladies and I will be happy to answer any questions about the first quarter financial report. I would have one other item, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to bring to the board's attention, if I may.
Any questions or comments on the first quarter financial report from Mr. Davis?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Manning.
I believe I submitted a question to the district to kind of put in writing some of the issues with what we asked for versus what county council gave us and kind of how all that looks. So if you guys could revisit the question that I sent to the district and provide that to me, I would appreciate appreciate it.
Mr. Manning, if you'll recall, I did send an email to the board immediately after County Council voted. You'll recall that the board had asked for a 9 mil increase, and the County Council gave a 13.5 mil increase on the operating side. And you'll also recall that in that email I talked about the debt service millage, which the County Council again increased by 5 mils from 80 to 85.
Okay, well, maybe I need to call you so I can.
I'm sorry, sir?
Maybe I need to talk to you so I can get a.
I'll be glad to,
make sure
sir.
I get exactly
at your
what I'm
leisure.
looking for.
But again, I sent that email to the board and the executive staff
And
the
I
night
did
the
see it.
County Council acted.
I did see your email. I just want to make sure that I'm completely understanding, because I have some people in the public that are asking for it and trying to get it to them and make sure that it's in the format presented for public presentation.
Mr. Manning, the only question I couldn't answer was why County Council did what County Council did.
Right. Okay.
Remember that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Mr. Manning. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Davis does have one more item for the board's consideration.
Yes, sir. We were hoping that the board would consider 2 change orders related to ongoing construction projects. One is a deductive change order related to the construction work done at Ridgeview High School, and we're asking for approval by the board of a $100,000 deductive change order there. We were also asking for an increase in the cost for our construction management services related to Elementary School 19, and a change order in the amount of $291,900 if the board would consider approving those 2 change orders.
Chair will entertain a motion under contractual matters 11.8. If you'll go back on your screens, that.
So moved.
It's been moved by Ms. Anderson.
You can do them together, or are you going to split them?
That's fine.
Pleasure of the board, Dr. Fleming. We're going to move to do them together unless there's objection to that.
Well, I've made the motion for them together.
Okay. Ms. Anderson moved to move them both together. Mr. Manning seconded for them both together. Any further discussion by the board?
Mr. Chair?
Dr. Fleming.
I know how we pay people. We pay them based on the bills they submit to us. But what we're providing here is $41,000 a month, additional possible funds for 7 months, a little over $40,000.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Justify to me how, when they've already got all their equipment out there, their trailers out there, and everything else that they would possibly need that much money per month to do this job.
Dr. Fleming, I can tell you that the calculation I was given by Mr. Carter and his staff, Mr. Watson, substantiated that. And again, we're asking for an approval on this, and not a nickel will be paid to them without substantiated costs being documented. And I'll turn to Mr. Carter and Mr. Watson if there's anything they'd like to add, or if I'm leaving anything out there.
Okay. Well, it just seems like a lot of money. It seems like a lot of money for services, but I may be wrong.
So you think it's cost reimbursement, Dr. Davis?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We don't pay any of it without it being substantiated.
Okay. Thank you.
Are we changing the contract?
Are we changing? Would be changing the contract. It would be a change order to the contract.
Okay.
We did add some time to the contract.
I know that. I mean, I realize that. I mean, I'm not complaining about anything but I'm just telling you, $41,000 a month is to possible. I mean, I just didn't know how you got to that.
It's the project director, the senior project manager, the on-site person. It's all man hours, and they broke it down for us by weeks, by hours, by cost per hour for each person.
So that's what we're paying them now?
Spectrum.
I'm sorry?
That's what we're paying them now?
That's what we're paying them now. And this is just for the added time.
Other questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, I just
Mr.
want
Manning.
to make clear, too, that the reason for the time was actually the district, not the contractor, because we made some changes. I think they were good changes that needed to be made, but that was our doing, not any issue on the contractor.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Hearing no further discussion, we're ready to vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr.
Next.
Chairman,
Dr.
I'm
Burgess.
sorry. Can I ask, or just one clarification with Mr. Davis on
Certainly.
the financial quarterly statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Our revenues are on track and we're doing okay in that regard, because it looks like either we're early in the game or we're not tracking, or
Dr. Burgess, you'll see that the revenues do lag. You recall that our revenues do not flow through uniformly throughout the year.
Right.
The bulk of our tax local revenue money comes in January and February. So that's the reason for that. And as far as the state funding, I know Dr. Fleming has always had a hard spot with this, is the state funding lags even worse than our local revenue.
Okay.
Some of those budgets, we don't get the funding until March,
Right.
as terrible as that may seem. So again, it is not a smooth revenue inflow.
Okay, but you don't anticipate any problem?
I anticipate all sorts of problems.
Okay, let me
We try to be prepared for
You
it.
do believe the check's in the mail?
Do believe the check's in the
Okay.
mail, essentially.
And then I'd like to reiterate, Mr. Chairman, I know I'm
Yes,
coming
Dr.
off
Burgess.
the board, but I'm happy to help y'all. I think we need to seek fiscal autonomy. And
Thank you,
I
Dr.
will do whatever I can as a recovering board member to make that happen.
Thank you, Dr. Burgess. Next on our agenda is the climate survey update. And let me share with the board where we are with that and with the public. First, I want to thank District 2 teachers, administrators, and staff for your trust in this board to protect your identity as you shared your most candid and honest thoughts about the district, its culture, its climate, the relationships between organizations, between schools, administration, etc. I want to thank every teacher, administrator, and staff person involved at every level for participating in the survey. Approximately 1,900 persons in our district participated in the survey, which has given tremendous information and wealth of data once it has been extrapolated to share with the board what we can do and what we need to do in terms of addressing issues that have been identified. This climate survey was administered by an independent third-party contractor by the name of K-12 Insights out of Eronda, Virginia. The draft report was just received by the board earlier this past weekend, and the K-12 staff will be invited to the district in the very near future to meet with the board and to review the report in detail. Following that meeting, the board will meet with the superintendent and staff to give them very specific directions for what is next and what is to come. The results then of the climate survey will be made available on the district-wide website once it is finalized. Hopefully that will occur in the very near future. The chair will entertain any questions by board members if you have any that I can attempt to address.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Manning.
The purpose of this to discuss just the process, or is it discuss the findings, or?
Well, I would not think we should discuss the findings at this time because it's not finalized, and also the organization that conducted it will come and make sure that we're interpreting the results correctly before we try to respond or to discuss them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. Anderson.
I think I had a lapse of memory for a short second there when you were speaking, but did you, I'm sure you did, but I just had a lapse of memory. You did explain the purpose of the board wanting to do that climate survey, right?
Yes, ma'am.
We wanted to know where the district stood.
That's correct.
And did you go into any other details? My mind just went on something else.
Yes, ma'am. We talked about the time frame that we have been under in terms of getting it, the next steps once the organization that conducted it comes in and reviews the data with the board, and what we hope to happen after that, including posting it to the district website and sharing with the superintendent.
I got that part, but there was a couple other things, but since you're the chairman, I'm not going to go into it. That'll be fine, sir. That'll suffice for tonight.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's annual evaluation. First, let me say to the board members, I want to thank you very much for participating in this process. On January 24th of this year, the beginning of this year, when I became the chairman of the board, I developed 10 bullet point items of things I wanted to accomplish with the help of the board this year and developed them in January. The first one was to begin airing live or recorded streaming video of each school board meeting. And I'm very pleased to see that that's happened. The second one on the list that was developed by the chair in January of 24 was to conduct the superintendent's performance review and evaluation to include goal-setting measures which are directly linked to the district's strategic plan. And to that end, we are at that point tonight. I sent a copy of this document in January to each board member as well as to the superintendent. And as a result of that, that's why I was able to say so emphatically at the candidates forum 9 months later that the superintendent's evaluation would be conducted by November as stated in her contract. The board met in executive session tonight to share with the superintendent our overview of her evaluation. A detailed evaluation document will be sent in the very near future to the superintendent. And again, I want to thank each of the board members for the role that you've played. Following a 90-minute public question and answer session the board had with the superintendent during its meeting on October 22nd, 2012, the board convened an executive session to further discuss the superintendent's evaluation. During executive session this evening, we concluded the superintendent's evaluation and met with Dr. Brochu. At this time, the board would like to make the following statement concerning the results of Dr. Brochu's evaluation. As a board, we discussed the superintendent's progress on her goals in the areas of academics, leadership, and fiscal management. We identified the superintendent's strengths as well as some significant areas of concern we would like the superintendent to address. With respect to the district's academics as a whole, we believe we are on the right track. We are pleased with the decrease in the student dropout rate and the increase in the student graduation rate. We believe our technology needs are being met. The administration has made efforts to consolidate academic programs within schools. The administration is making positive efforts in developing the district's career education program. While some areas of student achievement have improved, the board is very concerned that certain areas of student achievement have declined. For these reasons, we believe there needs to be a sense of urgency by the superintendent to focus on areas where student achievement has declined and efforts identified and implemented to immediately and effectively address such needs. We also believe there needs to be a sense of urgency by the superintendent in addressing the district's underperforming schools. We will expect the superintendent to present specific plans, both short-term and long-term, to address these issues. As a board, we support professional development as essential for the success of the district, but professional development needs to be properly managed to ensure that any time out of the classroom for teachers is minimized. We'd also like to see a detailed and itemized report on professional development expenses for the 2011-2012 school year. With respect to leadership, we recognize that the district's image needs to be substantially improved in our community. We believe the superintendent needs to improve her relationships with individuals at all levels within our organization and within our community, as well as with the board. We have also asked the superintendent to focus on improving communications between the schools and the district office, between the teachers and the district office, and between the district office and the community. We will look to the superintendent to ensure that she establishes a positive working relationship with employees at all levels that removes any perception of an administrative-driven approach to addressing issues. With respect to fiscal management, we believe the district has maintained sound fiscal financial management practices over the years. Under Dr. Brochu's leadership, we have increased the district's reserve fund to 12%, reinstated staffing patterns based on district policy, and maintained building projects under budget. In summary, as a board, we have outlined achievements and significant areas of concern which we believe the superintendent needs to address with urgency. We have requested that the superintendent submit to us a specific written plan for responding to and addressing our concerns by December 3rd, 2012. The chair will entertain a motion If there are no comments or questions by the board, Chair will entertain any questions or comments from the board.
Make a motion before we do comments.
Sure. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the superintendent's evaluation report as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Brill.
Second.
Second by Mr. Manning. Now, any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Burgess.
I just want to say for the public record that I think Dr. Brochu is on the right track in terms of academics. I think professional development is important and key to individuals making a change in the classroom. And I believe the data has been presented regarding how many people have been gone and how much money has been spent. This data has been presented, I know, at least 2 times. So I just wanted to go on record for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Burgess. Any further discussion?
I agree with Dr.
Anderson.
Burgess, Mr. Chairman, that has been presented before. So I think
Thank you,
that's coming from a
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Manning.
squeaky wheel.
I think that one of the things that was clearly stated in there and that I'm looking forward to is specificity with some of the things that go on. From some of the staff members that spoke tonight, there were very specific statements about what's happening in the classroom and the changes that are in effect in our schools in a way that I don't think that I've heard here on the board level. And so I think that that's important, that communication throughout the district is improved, just as we stated, and that the community relationships are built not only with the board but from the district office level as well, so that we do improve our image within the district, Richland too. I also believe that I am a big supporter of our teachers being involved, every level of our district being involved with development, our office managers, all different levels. Big fan of that. I think we have to show accountability, though, to the public and demonstrate that is being effective for what we put into it. And I don't think that that's something that I've seen with any specificity in a way that I'm comfortable with that. And so I think that we need to be very clear that what we are doing is making a difference in the classroom in a way that's measurable and accountable to the public. And I do think there are some things that we're doing well. I like the project-based learning. I like our teachers and other staff members thinking outside the box and collaborating together in ways that they've never done before. But we ultimately, as a board and a district, have to be accountable for the things that we're doing to the public. And it needs to come to us in measurable ways and not always anecdotes, because that's hard sometimes to display accountability.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Other comments from the board? Let me also go and say I love teachers as well. Starting with my mother who taught and my wife who I've been married to for 30 years who teaches in the district. My goal is to make sure that teachers recognize that we are fully supportive of the work that you do and want you to know that you are, in fact, able to come and talk to board members at any time about any concerns that you might have, contrary to what may have been said before. Thank you very much. Hearing no further discussion, we're ready to vote to approve the evaluation report as presented. That's correct.
Actually, Ms. Brill made the
Ms.
motion.
Brill
I
made the
seconded.
Manning seconded.
Mr. Chair, do we need to make it clear to the public that there is still more work to do on the evaluation?
I read that in the report, Ms. Spector.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, mine went off again.
Motion passes 7-0. Let me echo what Ms. Spector said publicly again, and that is that a detailed report will be provided to Dr. Brochu with itemized issues and items that she will be given an opportunity to work on and develop and respond to in the very near future. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is agenda items for our November 13th board meeting at Polo Road Elementary. Dr. Brochu.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will begin at 4:30 with a board installation ceremony and reception. Following that, our meeting will begin at 5:30. We'll have faculty focus report, a budget update, a report on SAT, ACT scores, our annual financial procurement report from the auditors. We will have for action proposal for the middle school STEM program and an update on the district efficiency and effectiveness study. At future meetings, I heard this evening to bring back the policy BEDB, which I believe has been tabled and we are doing work with. And then finally, a report in a future meeting regarding the off-site backup storage for technology.
Are there any additional items that board members would like to add to the November 13th board meeting or any future board meeting? Hearing none, thank you very much. Thank you. Next, we have our second public participation. Thank you very much. We have someone signed up, Mr. Ernest Branch. If you will come to the microphone, Mr. Branch, and state your name again and your mailing, your street address for us, sir. You have 3 minutes, Mr. Branch.
It won't take that long.
Yes, sir.
Ernest Branch, 215 Pine Clave Circle. I'd like to thank God for the work that District 2 has been doing, and more especially for the board and the members. We came down here from Boston 3 years ago with 2 sons. This is our 3rd year here, and came through Kelly Mill with great apprehension. But during the process of 3 years, all our concerns have been addressed. The school has done a marvelous job with our 2 sons, both a junior National Honor student. So really, the work that we have received from the district is beyond our understanding, our comprehension, and we thank God for that. We thank God for Kelly Mill because we named Kelly Mill as a house of love. They love the student, they love to teach, and they love to make sure that educational excellence prevail in all aspects. I was blessed to be able to sit in the classroom with my 8th grader last week, and they wore me out, trying to figure out what was going on, how they were interacting. But it's a beautiful situation here, and I thank God for you. Well, one question we did have is, do you guys not recognize federal holidays? Because the last federal holiday, the school was open.
Yes, sir. Are you talking about Columbus Day?
Yes, sir.
Sir. Some are recognized.
You mean you don't recognize all federal holidays?
No, sir.
Oh, because one of the things that's important for parents, we got 1 kid here and 1 kid at Ridgeview, and we like to plan our vacation around the holidays, that everybody else have an opportunity to enjoy. So bringing our kids to school is to us, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And that really bothered me the other day because we had planned to go to Myrtle Beach to hang out. Well, we had to go to school.
That's okay.
So I would hope and appreciate it, and I would pray the Lord that you guys reconsider that position and let us out on federal holidays, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Mr. Branch, did you say you had an 8th grader? I'm proud of you, that's all. I'm proud of you.
Oh, wow.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll entertain board and superintendent comments. We'll start with Dr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. it's great to be here tonight, Kelly Mill. Usually we're stuck in that little multi-purpose room, and the sweat's rolling down. You can't even breathe hardly, and it's great. It's great here. But it was so good to see the talented students here, and how involved you have them in your music program. I mean, it's one of those things you just can't put a price tag on getting children involved in the arts. You really can't. And I'm going to go on record, and I think our reporter left, and I'm actually not going to bash her at all. I thought she reported fairly. I know I heard a few negative reports. I've heard it today in emails and other things, but I thought she did a fair job. It may not be what you wanted to hear, but I thought she did a fair job with it. So I just wanted to compliment her on that. I'm sure she's like a board member. She doesn't get much praise in life. But it's good to see the positive response from the community and teachers. And we know it's out there. And we know we got problems. We know we got issues we got to deal with. And the thing is, we won't as a board, we won't stick our head in the sand. And we won't sweep it under the rug. We'll try to address them as they come along. We'll do the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Dr. Fleming. Mrs. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, want to commend the principal and the students who performed tonight. Beautiful performance. Give recognition to Windsor and the Center for Accelerated Preparation for their large grants that they received, and I know that they will use them wisely. Also, I commend each of you who spoke tonight. I am a person that thinks that everyone should have a right to freedom of speech. And just because you're an employee of this district does not mean that you can't address this board. So that's why I told you, those of you who contacted me, that you have that right to do that. And I appreciate your comments tonight. I visited one of the schools today and went through the cafeteria just talking to students. And the excitement that those students had and talking about the difference that they've seen in this district was heartwarming. So I think sometimes you don't need to always talk to adults. You need to talk to the children and get it straight from the heart, because whether you like it or not, children are going to tell you the truth. Whether you want to hear it or not, children are going to tell you the truth. And listening to those children today was very enlightening. So I know we're on the right track. I know we are teaching right. The days of standing in a classroom behind a desk or sitting behind a desk and trying to teach and reach children, those days are long gone and over. Children of today are technically in tuned and they're hands-on. And if you wonder why some of the test scores are down, I'm not a big advocate of test scores because there are so many variables that we have to take into consideration when you evaluate test scores. And believe it or not, you can make a test score come out to whatever you want to be. When you do the data, if you know how to manipulate it, it can be what you want it to be. But the bottom line is children are learning, and if teachers teach the way children learn, our test scores will go up. All children do not learn alike at the same time, just like all adults do not learn the same time. I know I can bake a good cake. Some of you may not be able to bake a good cake. Some of you may be able to do something much better than I can that I wouldn't even attempt to do. So we have to look and stop nagging where we are with our students and get on board and do what's necessary to make every child move to the next level. Every child is capable. I don't want anyone to ever believe that a child is incapable. I don't care whether that child has disabilities or not. Children with disabilities can also learn and move up the ladder. So with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I know you're getting aggravated with me talking, so I'm just going to pass out a letter that I received at the school that I visited today. This child was from Honduras, and she's only been in the United States 9 months. And this is a letter I want each one of the board members to see that she wrote to her principal. And some of the English is not perfect, but I guarantee you if I had to go to Honduras and learn their language, I couldn't write this much. But it just shows how we're reaching our students in our schools. So, and if you guys want a copy, I didn't have one made, but you can keep that one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank all of you for coming tonight. And please, don't just come when there's a hot issue. Come more frequently to see what's going on in your school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Ms. Spector.
I too want to say the school looks great, and I have to also commend Steve Schellenberg every time I walk into a school and someone's playing an instrument, because that was his biggest desire. And every time I see the steel drums, I think of him. But anyway, it was great. The only really thing I want to kind of focus on, after sitting in that candidate forum the other night and listened to some of the comments that were made about this board is not approachable, I really hated hearing that, because I have said time and time again that you could call me, you could email me, and to have someone sit up there and actually say that we're not approachable really hit home. And teachers, I commend you for coming in tonight and talking, but administrators, I'm not happy with you guys for actually sending emails to your staff and asking them to come on this behalf. Why haven't we heard from you? It's been how many years? Why speak tonight? You've had all this other time. I mean, we could have maybe done some different things before now, but if we're not told, we don't have an idea. If we don't hear from the parents, teachers, even some students will come and approach us, but if we don't hear from you, we can't make things better. Yeah, we have our district staff, but they're on another level than you guys are as far as teaching, and that's what we really need to hear. So I do want to say thank you for the ones that came in. I'm not sure if the email went to every school, but I know it went to some, and those are the ones that came in tonight. So I'm not very pleased with that as far as a board member, because that's just like sitting in that desk and telling those teachers on who to vote for. You don't do it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Spector. Dr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I go last? I wanted to read my
Certainly you can,
one song.
Certainly you can, Dr. Burgess.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Brill.
Appreciate being at Kelly Mill tonight. You had a band, orchestra, and chorus. Mm-hmm. Wow, absolutely awesome. And, you know, I used to play the violin growing up, and I think they did a great job. You know, just it's hard, you know, always hitting the right note, but I think the music was awesome and really appreciated it. Also, will tell Dr. Burgess that I will miss her.
Thank you.
Enjoyed sitting next to you and talking to you and learning from you. She's been
Ditto.
a great board member and very diligent.
Ditto.
So
thank you.
I told her we could still meet for lunch. It's okay.
Yeah.
Wanted to say that we had a very honest and open discussion when it came to, you know, looking at the evaluation for the superintendent. And so I think from there we can move forward and, you know, make some changes, make some improvements, and she'll be coming back to us with her, you know, her recommendations. And I thank you all for being here. Communicating with us is very important, and please continue to do that. You can come to our meetings, or you can email us, or and your comments are confidential. If you want it to be that way, it's certainly true. I've enjoyed my 4 years. It's been an honor and a privilege. Certainly enjoyed being vice chair and watching our chair do all the work. He's done a great job. And he always has a notebook and lists, and he knows what he's doing. But it's really been a privilege and a pleasure, and I thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Ms. Brill. Mr. Manning.
Mr. Chair, I want to thank Dr. Burgess as well for your service. It's been an honor to serve with you and the time that we've served together, and certainly learned a lot from you in the time that I've been here, and our other board members as well in your 4 years. Chip and Susan. Thank you. I do want to thank the teachers who came today to speak and the teachers who are involved. You guys are where the rubber meets the road. You're the ones that make the magic happen. You're the ones in front of the students every day, spend more hours with the students than their parents do, waking hours, where the future of our students lies with you. It lies with my daughter, who's in second grade, all her friends that are always at the house all the time, all the many children in the neighborhood and the community that are always in my residence. And I want to thank my wife for all the work she does to support all of that, so all the children that come by. But ultimately, we as a board, as I said before, we have to be accountable. Whether we like test scores or not, test scores are things that people look at when they decide where they're moving, what schools they want their children to go to, how the State Department of Education rates us. I do not believe we should teach to the test. I do believe that the quality education that our students receive through all the creative things that you guys are doing will ultimately lead to improvements in test scores. It should be a byproduct, not a focus. But ultimately, we are held accountable as a board and a school district for our test scores. That is how we are measured by parents, State Department of Education, nationally, and other things. And we are seeing, and it has been happening for some time, but we've certainly seen some decreases. And I think we have to begin to go beyond the conversations that happen. Teachers, I know you're working on it, and I ask, where are we as a district with creative programs like flexible schedules and other creative ideas that I've heard mentioned but I haven't seen implemented? We need to take the talk and turn it to action at the district level, and we need to make that happen. I think the word sense of urgency has been used. We need to have the sense of urgency to make that happen. I'm dedicated to providing the resources as a board member. We voted to give you guys extra substitutes, extra training, all of these things so that you have the tools to do what needs to be done in the district. But at some point, the accountability has to be there, and we have to see that happen, and we need to see real change in our district to meet the changing needs of our district and the ways that we're changing. We have transience issues, we've got other things, and I keep hearing about the discussions, but again, I need to see action, because that's what folks that are coming to me, that are bringing to me, James Manning, what are we doing to improve Richland 2 in the image and who we are? And so that is what I see my job as a board member, and I will continue to push for that so that we have the excellence that Mr. Branch's children and everybody else deserve in Richland 2. And Mr. Branch, thank you. You're a fresh air for all the issues that go on in the district. We should schedule you for maybe every other board meeting or something to come talk to us. But thank you again for everybody that's here tonight. Dr. Brochu, I think that there are some things I believe that are going well, and I do like project-based. I like some of the direction that we're going, but I do think we need to take it, as we say, to the next step, but we need to give specifics as to what that next level is and the time frame. Just like we expect football coaches, we're not going to give them forever. You've got to say when I expect to see the change and when that actually happens. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, I, in my comments, got so involved and wrapped up, I forgot, number one, to tell you what an outstanding chairman you have been over the past 9-10 months, however. You've done an incredible job, and I just want you to know publicly how much I appreciate and support you. And to Susan to you and Susan, I hope to see you back.
Thank you.
At the next board meeting.
Thank you.
And I'm going to miss my buddy over here. Boy, I'm going to miss her. I guess two nurses together is two clowns together, but I'm going to miss you, Stephanie. And I wish you and your family the best in everything. And so Chip and Susan, love you guys both, and I definitely hope to see you back at the next board meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to backtrack.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. I will defer my last spot to Dr. Burgess and say very briefly that I too enjoyed being here at Kelly Mill on tonight. I was in middle school and played clarinet, and then when I outgrew the clarinet in high school, I switched to bass drum because it fit my stature and posture, and then stayed on the band at Dreer High School, and then went to the University of South Carolina and played the bass drum. And as I alluded to a couple of weeks ago in another forum, talking about the correlation and connection between the arts and music and students' ability to achieve, particularly in the math areas, I think there's a direct correlation, and certainly am an example of that. So I was very impressed with what we saw and what I saw and heard here on tonight. I have 3 nieces and nephews still in Richland School District 2, and so my interest in this district and its success and in the classroom, it still remains extremely high. I demonstrate my support for teachers, try to anyhow, on a regular basis. And I want to thank all of you who've done such an outstanding job and feel overworked and overloaded with all of the issues that oftentimes come from the state and federal level and not necessarily just from the district level. But you persevere and you endure to make sure that the kids are the ones that are being first and foremost in everything that you do. And so I want to thank you for your support of our district, of all of our students, and certainly for this administration and this board. Thank you again. I've been honored to serve in this capacity on the board. Fellow board members, thank you very much for your tremendous support in enabling me to be able to do the job that I've attempted to do for the past 10 months. Thank you very much. Dr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to say thank you to Kelly Mill. It was really great to hear those students. They were wonderful. I can't play an instrument well. I kind of play piano, but I'm not any good at it. And I also want to wish Chip and Susan best of luck in your reelection. So I'll be thinking of y'all. I want to make a statement, if I could, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Since it'll be my last soiree, I'll be thinking of y'all when I'm sitting at home on Tuesday nights. Hardy har. It's with a lot of sadness and mixed emotions when I announced my intent to retire from the school board. It was a very difficult decision for me. My husband and I just reached a point in our lives that we wanted to spend more time with each other and with our family and travel and just have the flexibility to do so. I have the utmost respect for the parents and the students, the staff, the faculty, administrators, cabinet members, Dr. Brochu, and my fellow board members for your dedication and your commitment and your passion to this incredible school district. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve you all these past 8 years. I didn't always know the answer to everything. Sometimes I just kind of made it up. Just kidding. But served you all, I think I served you all faithfully with passion, integrity, and commitment. I want to personally thank our board chair for his leadership this past year. I think you've done an incredible job of keeping us straight. Our board is a great team, and I will always treasure our memories. I loved even being the board chair last year, even amongst all that controversy, beginning with the famous study, transparency, the budget with our issues in the millage with county council, and finally the rezoning. I also want to acknowledge and thank Dr. Brochu for her courage and leadership to help us make change and address the issues that are confronting us. Her mission is to help all students, equity across the board, not just for a few or the select few, but everybody. I've been very saddened by the few folks in the community who've had a personal mission to really undermine the efforts and the work of this school district, and especially in the things that we've asked Dr. Brochu and the faculty and administrators and staff to help us with. I want to thank my fellow board members who have mentored me and taught me a lot about public education. Mr. Jackson, I learned a lot from you regarding public education, especially where you came from. I believe you came from the State Department, so you taught me a lot. Ms. Anderson, your extensive knowledge of this district, if you leave, the history's gone. I have learned so much from you. Dr. Fleming, I learned a lot from you about the budget and millage, and I thank you for that. Ms. Spector, I learned a lot from you regarding building projects. The first time we got change orders, I had no idea what that stuff meant. Ms. Brill, I learned a lot from you about compassion and to listen to people, and you know everybody. It's amazing. And then Mr. Manning, I want to thank you for your help on technology. I still don't understand half of it, but thank you for helping me. I want you all to know that I'm going to miss you terribly. I hope that you'll keep in touch. I look forward to the continued success of this wonderful school district under the leadership of the board and Dr. Brochu. And I want to thank you all for your time and your dedication and your compassion. Finally, thank you for these beautiful flowers. They're absolutely gorgeous, but what I really want you to do is cough up some money for a trip.
You're nice dining out, you and your husband.
Finally, God bless you all, and thank you for everything.
Thank you very much, Dr. Burke. Thank you very much, Dr. Burgess. We know those words were heartfelt, and certainly the sentiments of our hearts are there with you as well in terms of all that you have taught us in so many ways. Thank you very much tonight. The Chair will entertain a motion at this time to adjourn.
So moved. Dr. Brochu didn't speak.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. Dr. Brochu, please forgive me. Opportunity for you to share comments.
Well, I'll just thank Dr. Burgess for her fabulous service and great leadership, and she will be missed. That's all I have.
Thank you. I apologize. Any other cabinet members? Hearing nothing. Again, the motion to adjourn was made by Mr. Manning, seconded by Ms. Spector. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.